Hi, class. Today I'm going to read Genesis chapter 22, verse 1. And it came to pass after these things that God did tempt Abraham and said unto him, Abraham. And he said, Behold, here I am. Verse 2. And he said, Take now thy son, thine only son Isaac, whom thou lovest, and get thee into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I will tell thee of. Verse 3. And Abraham rose up early in the morning, and saddled his ass, and took 2 of his young men with him, and Isaac his son, and clave the wood for the burnt offering, and rose up and went unto the place of which God had told him. Verse 4. Then on the 3rd day Abraham lifted up his eyes, and saw the place afar off. Verse 5. And Abraham said unto his young men, Abide ye here with the ass, and I and the lad will go yonder and worship, and come again to you. Verse 6. And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering, and laid it upon Isaac his son. And he took the fire in his hand, and a knife, and they went both of them together. Verse 7. And Isaac spake unto Abraham his father, and said, My father. And he said, Here am I, my son. And he said, Behold the fire and the wood, but where's the lamb for a burnt offering? Verse 8. And Abraham said, My son, God will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering. So they went both of them together. Verse 9. And they came to the land which God had told him of, and Abraham built an altar there, and laid the wood in order, and bound Isaac his son, and laid him on the altar upon the wood. Verse 10. And Abraham stretched forth his hand, and took the knife to slay his son. Verse 11. And the angel of the Lord called unto him out of heaven, and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, Here am I. Verse 12. And he said, Lay not thine hand upon the lad, neither do thou anything unto him. For now I know that thou fearest God, seeing thou hast not withheld thy son, thine only son, from me. Verse 13. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him a ram caught in a thicket by his thorns. And Abraham went and took the ram, and offered him up for a burnt offering in the stead of his son. Verse 14. And Abraham called the name of that place Jehovah Jireh, as it is said to this day, In the mount of the Lord it shall be seen. Verse 15. And the angel of the Lord called unto Abraham out of heaven the 2nd time. Verse 16. And said, By myself have I sworn, saith the Lord, for because thou hast done this thing, and hast not withheld thy son, thine only son. Verse 17. That in blessing I will bless thee, and in multiplying I will multiply thy seed as the stars of the heaven, and as the sand which is upon the seashore. And thy seed shall possess the gate of his enemies. Verse 18. And in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because thou hast obeyed my voice. Verse 19. So Abraham returned unto his young men, and they rose up and went together to Beersheba, and Abraham dwelt at Beersheba. Verse 20. And it came to pass after these things, that it was told Abraham, saying, Behold, Milcah, She hath also borne children unto thy brother Nahor. Verse 21, Huz, his firstborn, and Buz, his brother, and Kemuel, the father of Aram. Verse 22, and Chesed, and Hazo, and Fildash, and Jidlaph, and Bethuel. Verse 23, and Bethuel begat Rebekah. These 8 Milcah did bear to Nahor, Abraham's brother. Verse 24, and his concubine, whose name was Reumah. She bare also Teba, and Gaham, and the Hash, and Maasha. And that is the end of Genesis chapter 22. Stay tuned for next time. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one, Lord willing.